Some people say that the lockup is the main reason they don't want to buy XRP. There are many people who believe that XRP is not decentralized. To their surprise, they believe it is centered due to the Ripple escrow. A lot of people I don't work with in crypto have told me why they don't invest in XRP. They have Bitcoin and Ethereum, but not XRP. I don't understand why. They almost always say something about how Ripple controls the network, which makes them not think it's important, or that Ripple is selling XRP. However, this is likely one of the biggest myths. The XRP lockup is like Ripple's war chest when we think about it. Okay. Every month, it seems like we hear something new about how Ripple is releasing 1 billion tokens and how that will change the price of XRP. It's going to fall because they're going to sell it and other things. We could figure out what the trust is for, though, if we looked into a few things. I'll talk about this more in a moment. But before I do that, I want to talk about how much XRP is being held in banks. Out of the 99.98 billion XRP that are available, about 36.25 billion XRPs have been promised as security. By the way, we could also keep track of the trust wallets. We could see them here and see how much money was in them. You can see all of them if you scroll down. Even down here there's a lot more, but the ones that get the most attention are usually the Ripple wallets, which are always marked with the word Ripple. Right now, do I think this is a big deal? Is it true that Ripple has a large stock like this in escrow? Is not good, you know. Does it make sense to say something like, oh, XRP is centralized? Not at all. It is important for us to understand that it is escrowed. Everything is locked. People think that because Ripple holds so much, it's centralized. But you need to know that there are processes around the escrow that keep XRP decentralized. There is no central authority for XRP at all. We've talked about this many times, even using excerpts from David Schwartz. We've even talked about it with Brad Garlinghouse. But this is crazy because we're going to Anderson's post, right? And this is where things start to become clearer about what's really going on with the trust. So the fact that Ripple has a lot of XRP is a benefit, not a bug. It gives Ripple a financial reason to push for as much XRP's usage as possible. Ripple would have no financial reason to push for XRP usage and no reason to choose XRP over any other chain besides the features of XRPL if they didn't hold any or very little XRPs. Having a lot of a coin is the best way to tell if someone or something is trying to get it adopted. Think about the Ethereum gang from the dark days of ICO or Michael Saylor with Bitcoin as an example. Do you really think that they would push for the use of Ethereum and Bitcoin if they didn't have any? It's easy to see the answer. Besides that, the video below comes from a person who used to work for Ripple and was in charge of building liquidity and the XRP markets. Please watch the movie to understand why Ripple's holding so much XRP is so good for them and for the adoption of XRP in general. That is, this isn't just an idea I made up. It's based on what Ripple employees have said. Miguel's main point is because Ripple has a lot of XRP, they can give it to professional market makers at very good rates. This is not possible with Bitcoin. If there is a cross-border corridor that isn't competitive or liquid enough in terms of how much it costs to go through that corridor and how much Ripple payments on-demand liquidity there is, Ripple can cover the cost difference to encourage people to use it. It can really help that they have a lot of XRP and a lot of money in the bank. Ripple will no longer have to pay for people to use the route because it should become liquid enough with enough traffic over time. For those who are still confused, he also says that the more useful XRP is, the more valuable it will be in the long run. In this case, usefulness and XRP price are directly linked. This might need to be said, even if it seems clear to people who don't like XRP. Check it out. How are we going to make things even less centralized? It is a bit less good. And Joe Lumen is too. The early adopters of Bitcoin have a lot. Today I saw a study that said 90% of the Bitcoin held there comes from just 10% of the banks. That's a crazy thing. You can be alone a little more, so it's a little less public. Because the company helps so much, I think ours is a little more open. I would say that it makes things very interesting from a business point of view, because The first thing I do is build liquidity. Build. One way to do this is to give XRP to other people so that they can help markets stay liquid. When you go to the market to bid or offer on something, you need cash to buy it. You need to have something to sell if you want to sell it. You can only sell something that you own or that you take. It's very hard to borrow things in the Bitcoin world. It costs a lot, 10 to 15% a year in interest rates, which are hard to find. We are the only ones who can do that. We can guarantee the rates in that flow that I talked about, where some of these things are bought, moved, and sold. What do other people ask? But you're bridging between two fiat currencies. You have to do two hops. That's two spread. You're crossing. The liquidity isn't great. It's volatile, they say. Not a problem. I'll give you the extra money. I am very much in the center right to make sure that you cross this rail even though it costs a lot. In theory, our people will be worth more over time if they have more cash on hand and more useful skills. In the short term, we're pretty much in the middle of the right-wing push to get rid of all those rules. As a veteran man, I will look at our buildings. It doesn't matter if they are skeptical or skeptical about everything. We are in a very strong situation to actually activate these buildings. And, he's totally right here. You might look at this and think, wow, 36 billion is a huge amount of money. Even when we think about decentralization, we can say it's 100% good or centralized. Not dispersed, I'm afraid. But it's easy to make that case by looking at this and saying, oh, 36.25 billion ripples is like the top holder in terms of the top 9 or 8. That means XRP's completely controlled. Big is the same way. The same thing could be said about Ethereum. Like with Bitcoin, the main point of centralization claims is to see how many public companies are linked to it. One example is the mining businesses. These companies, like BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, own a lot of mineral companies. Master, right? BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard are the top users of Master strategies. You can now buy Bitcoin with ETF. Okay, so now you have big names in Bitcoin ETFs such as BlackRock and Fidelity. Would it be enough to say that all of those numbers and facts make Bitcoin centralized? We could. I could also add that the top miners, about 3 or 4 of them, have the most hash rate power. I could also look at the wallet list and say, okay, the top 10 or 100 hold this much supply. These kinds of fights happen all the time. The argument about whether the place should be centralized or decentralized is blown way out of proportion in a silly way. When we think about XRP, it's been around for a long time because it's useful and also because of Ripple. Because Ripple has been pushing XRP to be very successful for years, it is very successful. I also have some clips from the May 9th talk for SBI audio shareholders over here in the crypto area. If Ripple Labs holds XRP in trust, its value will not be added to the company's value until a clear valuation is found, either through an IPO or some other method. Ripple is also making a lot of money that hasn't been spent yet. Look at this. It is held as unregistered shares in Ripple Lab. The worth of the XRP that